increases every year because people are using their bills or their notes of exchange to pay things that have already been paid. So the guys that are benefiting are just a bunch of lawyers, a bunch of elites, a bunch of thugs, a bunch of criminals that know that they are using the system to benefit them. And you'll notice that their houses get bigger and bigger and bigger, and their businesses get richer and richer and richer. And the average person, the worker class, is clearly getting poorer and poorer and poorer and poorer because they are using the wrong kind of money to pay for things that have already been paid for.
Santos, what about? I was reading somewhere that there's a lot of people who understand this concept, and they're sending documents to the government to reclaim, as you say, dominion and to reclaim their rights. But within those documents that they're sending, they're putting all kinds of crazy things, like, you know, every time you use my name, you're gonna have to pay me $6 million or whatever. You know, and a lot of that stuff, it's later used against them because somehow, some way that, you know, they find a way to interpret that we or the person that sends that document doesn't understand the proper law, and therefore they can be held accountable for whatever it is that they're in court for. So what can you tell us about that? I mean, because I've read some crazy things that people are writing in these documents that are sending back to the government. Santos.
Yeah, they're confusing trust law with contract law or equity law. As you said before, you mentioned the two laws, the civil and the common, but there's also equity law or contract law. And so with contract law, there's no requirement for anyone to provide disclosure, you see. In particular, in regard to birth certificates and the business that they are carrying on behind the scenes, they're not required to tell you that. You see, so if you belligerently make statements about, you know, here's my schedule of fees, and if you use my name, which is copyrighted, etc., you can't copyright the name. You see, I can't copyright Santo Bonacci really in their system. They will not acknowledge it. You can do it, you can try doing it, and you can think that it's a protection, but it's not, because you can't copyright a name that they have. Well, they've registered it for a start. So, in a sense, they own that name. So when you go making claims about that name, you're already creating a controversy, and they know that. They're going to get you. You know, if you start saying, "Oh, that's my name, you can't use that." Well, the truth of the matter is that you yourself cannot use that name in such a way to identify. No one can use that name to identify you as a flesh, blood human being. Those documents are non-identifiable. So, and the government knows this, you see. Well, judges do, that's for sure. A judge will never say to you, what is your name for the record? And you turn around and you say, my name's Johnny Guzman. And then he turns around and says, well, can you show me your birth certificate to prove that? Because that never happens in court. The reason why is because they can't use the birth certificate to identify you. It's non-identifiable. So really, they're getting away with fraud by using that name too. But they do it carefully. You see, they don't ask you to prove who you are. They just say, what's your name? And hope that your name turns out to be the same as the name on those papers. And then their next presumption is they're hoping that you are going to talk to that name and give it life, because that name's dead. It's just a corpse, or in other words, a corporation. Same thing, dead paper. So if you walk in there and the judge says, "Oh yeah, well, what's your name, please?" He's just hoping that one of us, one of the two parties, is going to be dumb enough to identify themselves with that name, which is fraud. So the moment you've committed fraud, he's happy. He just sits back then and just goes, "Oh, great. Right, this is going to be easy now. I can just get away with anything. Jail, fines, and and he will be the beneficiary. He's turned the tables on you. You've become the trustee. He's become the beneficiary. So now he's going to benefit because he's going to pocket all that cash you give him, and he's going to go off and spend it. Because when you go to jail, when you go to jail, um, the time you spend in jail has a commercial